Okay, so till the senior management and HR realize this fundamental shift which has happened, saying the individual now controls his career, how can I provide him tailwind as opposed to doing something else rather than headwind? So if all of us align to say, hey, you're a great guy, maybe if we help you this way, you'll fly even faster. I think that's a big change. So in my book, it is not an easy answer. There's no easy answer. But you have to add value. You have to have the right value system in place. Young people today don't want you to violate values. They want you to bend rules, but they don't want you to violate values. Okay, in a sense, they're also idealistic, because the first 3-5 years, all of us were idealistic at work. Every single thing we wanted it to run, in a particular manner. So you just have to be a little careful in handling them. But once they get over that initial phase, I think then they're gems.
Yeah, it's interesting you said this bit about idealism, about young people today, because one of the things I've seen, and I was going to ask you that as the next question, is that a lot of young people today want their organizations and want their work to have a larger purpose.
Yeah.
Right? It is a concept which is in many cases even new to large organizations. Because 15 years ago, even if you asked a large conglomerate about purpose, I don't think you would have got a very clear answer. So it's something that even companies have just moved towards. Do you see that happening increasingly?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there are 3 reasons why people come to work. From all the work, the studies, whatever I've seen, read, interacted with people. Number 1, the purpose and the meaning of the company. Why does this company exist on the face of the earth and what does it serve? That's a very important thing. Okay. Second is, when they come to work, I have good colleagues at work. I don't need to watch my back. They're good people, friendly guys. I love the atmosphere. And the third reason is, I come to work, I put a proposal, I see progress. Those are the 3 big reasons why people come to work. If one of them is missing or 2 is missing, then they switch off. Then they've checked out. It's just a matter of time before they get the next job and they're off. Okay, so all 3 are very important. So the role of leadership is to constantly communicate the purpose of the organization. Where are we headed? Why are we headed? What are we trying to do? Okay, and to constantly build that progress in people. To say, here's the type of culture we're trying to build, and meritocracy truly matters, and if you're good, you'll advance.
And that's clearly the CEO's role, right?
That is clearly the CEO's role. Because, and here's the point about companies. When anybody sees a promotion list in a company, okay, that promotion list says a lot of things about the company. If it's a list of people who are saying yes to the boss, then you know what you want in that company. If it's a list of people who are truly meritocratic and who've reached there despite all the arguments, all the challenges through the dint of hard work, then you know merit has a role in this company. So to all the HR people, I would suggest, you will never get 10 out of 10 promotions right. But if you're getting 8 on 10 right, you're doing a fantastic job. The challenge is if you get less than 5 right. If you get less than 5 right, the cooler talk is not serious enough to be taken seriously, but it's not light enough to be discarded. Okay, so you really have to watch your promotion list and what you're doing with your people. It is the best signal of culture, your promotion list.
Okay, I'm going to throw it open for questions because Shiv has exactly 12 more minutes to go. So we will try and take as many questions as we can. Raise your hand. Questions, okay? No points. Identify yourself and ask the question. Yes, I know. These people are standing up, so it's fine.
Good evening. My name is Manoj Pandey. I head HR of a door welding. I just want to know,
May I request you to stand up, please?
Yes,
I can't see you at all.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you have shared a case wherein when companies experiencing growth, many people who are not up to the mark do not get recognized. What's your view on actually case which is the other way around, when actually things are not working at that time, many times actually we are also not able to locate who has really performed. Since business has not happened, so we basically assume that everyone is bad. So your thought on that?
Good question, thank you. In my career of more than 25 years, there are 3-4 years that my business has not grown. or the brand that I was handling, or the region I was handling, or the company I was handling did not grow. I can promise you, those 4 years were the hardest working years in my life. Okay, but I got no benefit from it. So when things are tough, you really need to look at to see, can anybody else have done a better job than who's there in the moment? And that commitment which somebody brings in a tough situation is far more valuable to me than anything else. And in tough times, you really look for that commitment, somebody who bunkers down, really sweats it out for the institution. In good times, what you typically tend to look for are ideas. Okay, ideas for further growth, creativity, is he able to do it, etc. Okay, so managing the emotions in a tough time is just as important as identifying the stars in the growth period.
Could we have one of the mics in front, please? There are 3 questions in this cluster, so yes, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Shailendra from IBS Bangalore. My question to Shivkumar is, you talked about managing growth. Now, there are 2 types of growth we have seen, in the history. One is organic, other is inorganic. Are there different challenges, in managing these 2 types of growth?
Yeah, they're very different challenges. Organic growth is about taking the core and building on it through innovation, through the right strategy, through the right channels, whatever in that industry. Inorganic growth is to say, I will acquire somebody, I'll do something. There, it's far more difficult because first is you need a strategic fit between the 2. Second, a lot of why you bought a company is because you thought it can be run better. Okay. Second is the cultural fit. Quite often when you buy a company, you tend to throw out everything of that company. You really have to preserve its core because you are buying a company and a lot of people who are coming with it have immense experience. The day you lose that experience, that company is no longer the company it was. Okay. And the third place where it goes off is the projected cost savings don't come through. Okay. So think through strategy carefully, why you bought it. Think through the cultural aspects and the cultural fit and the projected cost savings. These are the 3 which are big watchouts when you do inorganic. Okay, so simple stat again without referring to any company. 95% of all mergers and acquisitions fail. Okay, so now you have to really think about what you want to do after that.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, sir. And it was a splendid, very profound thought. Thank you very much for that. Recent article by Conclave and a research, it shows that there are 2 derailers for an organization, agility and maturity. So what is your take on that? How, as a leader, you will develop agility and maturity in the organization? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you for asking that. See, in the past, we always thought that leaders needed to have strategic ability. Okay, that was one of the top 2-3 things which we expected of leaders. Today, in a fast changing world, I said, how will your business look 3 to 5 years from now? It's not 10 years. I didn't say 10 years, 3 to 5 years. So what is required for leaders actually is strategic agility as opposed to ability. So you have a bit of strategic thought in you, but your ability to maneuver quickly is very, very important. Okay? There's a lot of research which has been done, which will be done on why companies succeed and why companies fail. If you look at why companies succeed, by and large people will say they are innovative, they have a good culture, they have good leadership, they execute well. By and large, 4 out of 5 will be there. Why companies fail has been studied for 200 years. People come to 2 big reasons why companies fail, which is linked to your second question on maturity. The reason companies fail is arrogant leadership and ability or inability to learn and unlearn. Okay? In a paradoxical way, strong cultures make you fail faster. Okay, a mature culture is one which says, these are our strengths, but we need to be agile enough to learn these new things. Let's change while the going is good, and let's move ahead. A strong culture, on the other hand, will say, this is the only way to do things, I don't need to change. Okay, that's the immaturity in the organization.
Yes, please, gentleman there, yeah. And then the lady here, please, can someone get a mic to her, please, if you have an extra mic? Yeah.
Sir, how do you define job satisfaction in terms of culture? Money or employee engagement?
Money or employee engagement?
Yes.
Okay. There are three things I look for in every business that I have run or I go to review. Okay. Number one, is the business gaining market share? If the business is gaining market share, it's doing something better than everybody else, and hence consumers are happy. Number one. Second thing I look for is, what is the employee engagement scores? Are they going up in the right direction? If employee engagement is going up, your costs will come down, because higher employee engagement leads to higher productivity. Okay, so for the same cash, you will be more productive than your competitors. And the third is operational cash flow. Okay, so employee engagement, very critical. Here's the challenge. With a lot of us in India, we have started equating money with prestige, power, and achievement. Okay, here's my submission to you. If you're good, money will follow you. If you have money, it doesn't mean you're good. Keep this in mind, okay? So work to be respected, work to be good, money will follow. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
last three questions. Lady here.
Myself, I'm Dr. Anupama Raina. I'm from IBS Gurgaon. From last maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, we've been hearing, in fact, HR being one of the most important factors in organizations. But my question is, why do companies in that case outsource? Probably one of the answer could be like, we want to be strategic partners and all. But somehow, by being strategic partners, isn't it that we have lost our basic functions? And if I put it other way around, it would be like, our own kids being looked after by somebody else. So how do you see this as in?
Yeah, so the HR department has transformed significantly over the last 25 years. HR departments and overall admin departments, as they were called those days. If you look at 25 years ago, when I started my career, it would be HR and admin. The boss would be HR plus administration boss. And that administration included travel, canteen, tea, every single thing. Okay, so over a period of time, admin moved out. Then after that, things like, as more and more automation happened, payroll is a great example. As more and more automation happened, people said, these are standardized things. Why do we need people to manage it? Somebody else can do this regular routine job at a cheaper and a better rate than any of us. So let's shed that. So that went out of the window. So now truly what HR needs to think about is the engagement and culture in the organization and the transformation that the organization needs to go through. In that sense, it's a sharpened agenda, but a tougher agenda. Okay, so those are the things that I would really value in an HR department. The building of the culture and the path of transformation.
And then last question to that gentleman there
Yeah.
who raised his hand. Can you just raise your hand again so that
Yeah.
we can get a mic to you? Yes, please.
Hi, very good evening.
Thank you.
I represent the HR department for a pharmaceutical company, the distribution section. My question obviously is around the most important topic that we have been hearing about throughout the evening is culture. So my question is, there's a interpretation which is very different for every industry, every individual, every human resource manager, every CEO of the company. And for many years, India has not seen, such an augment of culture as such. The way we are driving it today, every second person I meet today in HR domain is talking about cultural shift. I would like to ask you if you have any, a particular view on how this culture should be. Like, for example, somebody wants to change their culture. An organization makes a decision. We want to change. We want to reach a level. Do you have any tips for such organizations, such HR managers? What is the starting point? Any tips for that matter?
Yeah. Culture is the smell of the place. I visit a lot of companies. I meet a number of people, etc. If I go to another company and I sit in the meeting room, just watching how that meeting is conducted itself tells you something about the culture. Okay. Going back to what is the type of employee we have, what's the type of diversity we have in the organizations today. Multi-generational, far more educated, very sharp, very bright people. 3 or 4 things is what will determine whether you're on the right track of culture. First is, if you say you're open, are you truly open? If you say you're transparent, are you truly transparent? If you say you're non-hierarchical, are you truly non-hierarchical? Okay. And if you say, I as a company commit to adding value to you, the employee, are you truly doing it? If on those 4 dimensions you are on the right journey, then you'll improve your culture. Whatever else you do, you can pay people 200% more. you're a closed company, you don't add value, you're hierarchical, bureaucratic, etc., culture will not change. Okay, people must visibly feel, go back to progress, go back to colleagues, go back to the meaning of the company. They're all linked to these things. Okay, so have open dialogues, as many as possible, really encourage people to speak up, okay, and please ensure that you as company and you as leaders are adding value to your people. That culture is what people will come and sign up for. Today's employee is a volunteer, he's not an employee. So people who work for you have decided to volunteer 2 years of their hard life to you. How do you ensure that that volunteerism spreads beyond 2 years to 3 years? That's your job. He's not an employee anymore, he's a volunteer. So if you start thinking of your people as volunteers, you'll react very differently. NGOs have volunteers. Why? There's a cause. Okay, start thinking of your employees as volunteers and not employees.
Okay, last question to that gentleman there. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. My question is in context of larger organizations. My question is simple. When working through the ladder, the innovative bunch of joinees normally feel stifled. They might be low performers as compared to the other paradigm of performer category. But how do they retain themselves in an organization, maintain interest in terms that they are building up their climbing ladder, they are going through that same team adjustments and everything? And how does an organization in this paradigm retain the innovative talent?
Yeah, one is at any level in the organization, you must always check if people are building the institution. If somebody is committed to the institution and doing all the right things because he believes these are the right things for the institution, you should encourage him. And second, in the early stages of people's careers, you must be far more forgiving about failures and shortcomings. Because nobody is perfect. When young people, they see themselves as being tolerated for their failures and shortcomings, their commitment actually goes up. Their commitment doesn't come down.
Is it your sense that companies as a rule are now far more tolerant and far more willing to accept an employee's individuality?
Yes.
Because at one point in time, everyone wanted to create the same clone, right?
Very good question, a great question to end. Here's the thing. You look at 55% of the GDP is services. Okay, about 23-25% is manufacturing, and then you have agriculture. Okay, in manufacturing or industry, you manualize everything. You put a manual, step A, step B, step C, step D. Okay, you drive efficiency, and that's how you become better. In the service sector, you have to empower people. There's no manual. You have to give them guidelines and say, now go do your best. Go get me great customer engagement, consumer engagement, what it is. So the services sector and the boom and the ability of people to take on ownership is what is really making that happen in organizations.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Shiv. That was very useful.
Thank you. You go.
He's ready to jump off. We want you to stay on. Thank you very much, Sukumar, and thank you very much, Mr. Sivakumar. May I request Mr. Zairis Masters, the business head of Shine.com, to please come up and present a small token to Mr. Sivakumar.
Zairis worked for me in Nokia.
Thank you very much. That was really insightful to see how the mind of a CEO works and what all works behind the scenes, as it were. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move on to our panel discussion, and as we make the arrangements on the stage for all our speakers to join us, I will quickly introduce to you our speakers. So kindly bear with the little disruption that you have here up on stage, and I will now introduce to you our panelists. We have 6 people up on the panel today, and they are Mr. Adil Malia. He's the global head for leadership, learning, and people management at the SR Group. The $20 billion SR Group is present in 25 countries and has business interests in steel, oil, power, shipping, projects, telecom, BPO, mining, and realty. With degrees in economics, law, and management, Mr. Malia has diverse experiences of working in India and globally with large multinational companies like GE and Coca-Cola on the one hand, and large entrepreneurial organizations like SR, Godrej, and Al-Fathem in the Middle East on the other. Adil Malia has also worked in the domains of business leadership, law, people management, and marketing through the 33 years of his diverse experiences in business. We also have Dr. Ajay Oberoi, CPO and Head Administration, IDBI Federal Life Insurance, who has over 34 years of experience across BFSI, ITES, education, automobile, and construction equipment industries. He has held strategic and leadership roles in HR, sales, products, marketing, and manufacturing. His expertise includes organization, design, grade, and compensation architecture, setting up business units and projects, and he has managed human resource functions during different phases of the business cycle and has worked with companies like Godrej & Boyce, Tata Motors, Aptech Limited, and various others. Mr. Mohnish Sinha, Director, Hay Group, leads the leadership and talent practice for ASEAN, South Asia, Africa, and Pacific. He works with clients to identify and address their needs for organizational transformations, change, learning by helping turn their business strategies into the results that they desire. He's also a leadership coach and has coached and facilitated hundreds of senior and top management executives. Mr. R. Anand, Vice President Rewards and Career and Talent Management, heads the Global Centers of Excellence at HCL. He and his team are responsible for planning and for senior level employee segments, directly executing the HCL talent management strategy. He's also, as head of the Global Compensation and Benefits, the talent management strategy is executed end-to-end, whether hiring or mobility management, rotation or reward change. He also supports the top team in rotation of leaders and organizational restructuring. Mr. Rajendra Garg, Senior Executive Vice President and CHRO, HDFC Standard Life, has more than 2.5 decades of rich work experience. He brings with him a huge perspective, not only in the HR domain, but also in the overall business management area due to his Six Sigma and process management expertise. Earlier, he was with DHL Express as head of HR for India and senior advisor, quality and processes for South Asia. Our moderator is Mr. Suresh Ramasubramanian, the Director HR at Max India. I'd like to invite all our speakers to join me up on stage. Suresh has over 2 decades of HR leadership experience across various sectors covering manufacturing, information technology, hospitality, and banking. His key areas of expertise are in helping businesses scale up through active interventions in organization design, talent management, staffing, and rewards management. So if I could request all our speakers to please come up on stage. Mr. Adil Malia, Mr. Mohnish Sinha, Mr. Anand, Mr. Garg, Dr. Ajay Oberoi, and Suresh Ramasubramaniam. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we will have an interaction up on stage and then throw the floor open to questions. Suresh? Over to you.
To go.
It's on.
Good. Thank you. Gentlemen, you have a tough task on hand. Because I think Shivkumar has really elevated the level of the conversation. And what he's done is he's been simple, clear, crisp. There have been no shoulds and musts. If he's driven off his experience, he's given the concept and backed it up with experience. The topic's very wide, but I think he set the tone with co-pilot, pilot, and navigator. That's a good way to lead off. Here's my request of all of you. If you could take 3 to 5 minutes to lay out your thoughts on the subject in hand is HR to build business. And then we will take it from there. We'll have questions. There's a cheat sheet I have. I'll drive off that. Adil, you want to go first?
Sure. So thank you, Suresh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic occasion we had to listen to Shivkumar. It's funny. ये जिंदगी के रास्ते भी कुछ अजीब है, कम वक्त वहीं से गुजरते हैं जहां रास्ते नहीं होते.
क्या बात.
It's very surprising. You know, I keep hearing this term VUCA times, and my question always has been that if times were certain, gradual, clear, well-defined, actually we should all be in agriculture. Because it is inherent in the nature of business that unless and until there is a high risk motivation, the entrepreneur does not get his money back. Therefore, forever and ever, businesses have really thrived by trying to seek opportunities in VUCA times and VUCA type of times. It is only that the pace of the VUCA time has gone up, and therefore to say that if times are uncertain, times are these are challenging opportunities for business, is the right way to look at the very nature of business. There has to be a certain element of calculated risk-taking, maximizing of opportunities, building a strong constitution, because the times are going to change whether you like it or you don't like it. In fact, I see a great blunder that most of the entrepreneurs keep making in the recent times, and